Welcome to the Style and Grace podcast, maintaining mental health and tackling real life issues, honesty and compassion. Where style meets substance and grace meets real life experiences.
This episode of the Style and Grace podcast is sponsored by the law offices of Tiffany J. Brown, LLC, where faith and justice align. Attorney Tiffany J. Brown serves clients in family law, personal injury, and probate with compassion, clarity, and unwavering dedication. She's a young attorney committed to listening, guiding, and standing with her community. Her promise remains, promising to serve and vowing to commit. Now here's today's episode. Hey, y'all. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Style and Grace podcast. I'm your host, Whitney Victoria, and I am so glad that you all are here with me. Listen, today's guest is a woman who leads with purpose, passion, and commitment to serving others. Before we talk about her professional accomplishments, she's first a wife, a woman of faith and values, and someone who has dedicated her life to making a meaningful impact in her community. She is the founder and principal consultant, a political strategist, organizational infrastructure and public policy advisor, leadership trainer, lecturer, and community advocate. Through her work, she has helped shape conversations, develop leaders, and create pathways for a positive change. Today, we are going beyond the titles to learn more about the woman behind the work, her journey, her challenges, her passion for community, and her vision for the future. Please join me in welcoming the amazing Kelli Williams Atkins to the Style and Grace podcast. Kelli, thank you so much for being here. And before we get into all the incredible work you're doing, I love for our audience to get to know you. So tell us a little about who Kelli Williams Atkins is.
Man, well, Kelli is a multifaceted individual. I tell people all the times, I am a Jane of all trades and a master of many. Yeah, so born and raised in Mullen, South Carolina, born and raised here in the South. I am a long-time advocate for people. I can consider myself a person who wants to be the change agent and the catalyst for change in society. When I say I'm multifaceted, so yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a motorcyclist. I am a published author of 2 books. I've been in the political arena for 15 years, and I'm just a person who just wants to see people do great in life. Yes, I am a wife. I am also a daughter, a dog parent, and that's just me. I just tell people, I am probably the most simplest person, but when you look at my resume, you might say I'm not a simple person.
Listen, you are definitely a Jane of all trades. Now, Kelli, what first drew you to the world of politics and community leadership?
Okay, so let's take it back to 2015. So in 2015, I don't know if a lot of people may or may not remember Hurricane Matthew. Hurricane Matthew was a devastating hurricane that came through the PD area specifically. And I don't know if a lot of people remember, but over 400 families was displaced in the town of Nichols, South Carolina, where they said it was like 100-year historic flood. So that actually sparked me into politics and also philanthropy work as well, because I'm a nonprofit leader as well. So in 2015, when that hurricane came into play, I saw where, those families was displaced. Many of my family members was displaced. My home church was actually flooded out as well. And I saw where people literally had to leave their homes and they had to go and stay at the middle school, the high school, the National Guard. The Red Cross came in and tried to do a lot of heavy lifting. But I saw a lot of these organizations doing the work. And see our elected officials and people that we elected to these said seats to step up to the moment, to step up to say, hey, these are what we are going to do as leaders for those who we serve as our constituents. So probably a week went by and I still didn't see anything that was any movement from our city council, county council, even our state house representatives regarding this historic flood that displaced all these families. So I took it upon myself on power of social media. At the time I was a part of an all-female MC out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to Smoking Curves MC. And I made a post on Facebook to my motorcycle community. And I gave them a synopsis of everything that happened. And I said, I'm doing a call to action. If y'all can send me, food, like canned goods, diapers, clothing, shoes, anything that you can send me, please DM me and I'll give you the address or how I can meet you guys to do that. Whitney, when I tell you within 72 hours, I had enough clothing and food to provide for over 1,000 individuals. The power of social media. So I immediately, my dad's house was just covered with like just items. I had a few of my friends who came over. They kind of helped me get organized. And I was like, you guys, we have to figure out how to get these things to the people. So I knew of a guy, he owned a flea market spot in Mullins. And I asked him if I can use his space. And he was like, yes, absolutely. So my club brothers out of Florence, they came through. They brought their grills to cook food. My family, my friends, my church members, they partnered alongside with me. And we were able to serve over 400 families that day. And then the rest of the clothing we were able to donate to the National Guard and the Red Cross, who was also continuing efforts. But in that moment, I said something has to change. It's no way at that point in 2015, I was in my mid-20s. And I was like, it's no way somebody in their mid-20s who just got out of college literally had to take a step in initiative that our elected officials and politicians should have had resources already available for said things. Now, granted, we know disasters happen all the time, but it should be some type of contingency plan. And that would spark me getting into politics and starting asking the right questions. I started showing up to my county council, city council meetings. I started asking them like, hey, if this happens again, what is the plan? And what is the steps that we need to take as a community? And come to find out, it was no plan. So that really would spark me getting into politics. And then also that would spark me to start my foundation, M-West Benevolence Foundation, and my philanthropic giving acts to make sure that I was able to be a resource to people when they need it. So yeah, that actually is ironic. It took a hurricane to get me into politics.
I see that. And that's actually going into my next question. So without them having a contingency plan, would you say that that was your defining moment when you realized that this work is your calling?
Absolutely. So now I can honestly say I have always been politically aware. I just want to preference that because I know a lot of people who get into this work, they're not necessarily politically aware. They, something may happen and it just say like an aha moment to them aware that they need to become a part of the process. My family, I have had my legacy. I had, 3 individuals in my family who was a part of city council. Also, my cousin is a sitting state senator. So I always knew about politics. But what the content for me personally, what made me the aha with the contingency plan was, how can I be a part of the process and have a seat at the table? How can I take my ideas, my know-how, my knowledge, and apply it to how can I, at the time, like I said, I was 24, 25 years old. How can I, as a young person, get other young people involved who just got out of college and we use the things and the tools that we learned in order to help the community that we live in? Mullins is a very small town, probably less than 4,000 people. And I tell people all the time, everybody can't leave. Because granted, I could have went to Houston, I could have went to New York, I could have went to DC, I could have went to Atlanta, could have went to Charlotte. But I decided to stay home because I saw the flaws in the system. Now, is every system perfect? No. But at the same time, as I felt that as a citizen, as a person who lived in my community, that I needed to step up to do my part. We become complacent as constituents and as citizens in our neighborhoods. It's like, hey, it really doesn't bother me, doesn't affect me. But I tell people all the time, every aspect of politics affect our everyday movement and lives, whether you like it or not. So I took it upon myself after learning that it was flaws in the system. How can I become a part of the process to be able to make the process better?
I love that. I love that, Kelli. Now, you've worn many hats throughout your career. What has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned about leadership?
Man, never be the expert. Number one, always be willing to be a sponge. I tell people, always be willing to be a sponge and soak up as much knowledge that you can. And also have the experts and the people who are more knowledgeable around you. Because at the end of the day, knowing in the spaces that I'm in is twofold. As a leader, I have to be willing to do all the work and all the facets of things. So what that means, so if I'm the director of said organization, I have to know and be knowledgeable of what my secretary may be doing, or what the HR person is what how to know their job, even down to the janitor. I be as a leader, I should be willing to be able to step in their roles if need be, to be able to help keep the process and keep the things flowing. But I've also learned as well too, as a leader, it's okay to fail. And because we sometimes as leaders, we tend to have imposter syndrome, which I tell people all the time, I don't have imposter syndrome no longer. As a leader, I understand that I belong in said room that I go into. I show up as my authentic self, but also I am also a leader that understand that I am going to fail because I am human. And that's what it really truly means to know that I'm not the expert and forever be the sponge. So I am surrounding myself with individuals. So when I do fail, I have a support system of other leaders that I can lean in on to be able to help me move to that next level.
And also, goes into using your failures to help you excel in other areas. Now, Kelly, what challenges have you faced along your journey, and how did those experiences help shape the leader you are today?
Oh man, I have a story for you guys. A lot of people, they see me for who I am now, but they have no clue on the journey and the path that I had to get to where I am now, and also where I'm continuing to go. So in my first book that I wrote back in 2014 is the Journey into Enlightenment, A Guide to You. And that book was actually the story about my life, where I went through. So in 2011, I was 20 years old, and I went through the most traumatic thing and experience that anybody could literally go through. I experienced my cousin getting killed in front of me. And yesterday was actually his birthday. If he was still living, he would be 38 years old. God rest his soul. And at that point in my life, that's when my life became as a spiral. And went through a very deep, dark depression, to the point I was questioning why him and not me. I had to go through a series of trials to see the person who killed him, get some time, and only find out that the first trial went to a mistrial because there was a hung jury. And in the second trial, he actually did get sentenced, but he only got sentenced to 18 months in jail. And a lot of people don't understand that at that moment in life, I really just want to give up because I felt a failure in the system, which ties into reason why I do legal work and political work today. And it literally defined who either A, I was going to just give up on life, or B, I was going to take that pain and turn it into purpose. And of course, over the years, I went through this series of just different things. I tried to commit suicide 3 times. The last time I was almost successful. I, went to where I had, eviction notices. I had repossessions. I've been where I've been dead broke and had absolutely nothing in my bank account. I went through domestic disputes over my life and everything like that. But I tell people that the things that I had to go through in life was molding me. Even when I didn't think it was molding me, it still was molding me into the person I'm in to this day. And I tell people in 2026, I look at all the things I went through from 2011 to now, and I tell people I give God all the glory. And I also thank God for the process I had to go through in pruning me, because it made me a better advocate for people in general. I tell people I'm not a one issue type of activist person who runs into these circles in politics. I understand what it means to literally not have a job and trying to find the resources to find another job. I understand what it means to be a victim and your family being a victim of violence. I understand what it means, like have elderly parent who's literally on the system and trying to figure out what it comes to like Social Security and all the things. I understand what it feels like to be a millennial and literally trying to fight a housing crisis. I understand the full scope. And those things that I had to go through in life prepared me for the leader that I am to this day, but also it prepared me and shaped me in understanding and wanting to understand policy and how the things around us truly shape our everyday lives. So yeah, I tell anybody my story is a very interesting story. Do I talk about it a lot? I don't. But at the same time, I cannot negate my story for shaping me into the person that I am today.
Amen. No, you cannot negate your story. Amen. But I also want to go into those challenges, Kelli, because and it's going to go into my next question, because those challenges I feel made community advocacy a part of your major work. And in that, this is a two-part question. Why is the community engagement so important to you?
So why community engagement is so important to me? Number one, and this goes back to the biblical. I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person.
Okay. Amen.
God put us here on earth for a few things. Of course, he made, man dominion of the land to take care of the land and for us to take care of the things that he has, given us. But he also put us here on earth to be able to help our fellow man as well. We cannot do things alone. And I tell people it grieves me sometimes in society today because everybody's in their own individual silos. Everybody's just worried about themselves. They're not really worried about building the communities that we were actually designed to do. When it says literally help thy neighbor, that's what it really means. Help thy neighbor. And when it comes to community engagement, we have to go into with that. How can I help my neighbor? Whether it's literally, like I said, providing a resource to them. If you've seen that your neighbor, living from paycheck to paycheck and they have to decide on whether that they can pay their bills or be able to feed their kids, what kind of resources say, hey, your check is going to have to pay these bills, but you can go to this local food pantry down here to make sure that your kids are fed and that you are fed. How can I help my neighbor understand, okay, well, they living in a food desert or a desert where they may not have access to medical care? What are the resources and the things that I can connect them to ensure that they not feeding themselves unhealthy things, or they're able to have access to the healthcare and the resources that they need? When it comes to community engagement, is understanding where people are and how we can meet their needs to get to where they need to be. Now, granted, can we help everybody? No. But can we help somebody? Yes. And when it comes to community engagement, it really also goes down to educating our people on how the system works, what's available to them, but also how can we create better systems so we don't have to continue going through these same cycles. So when I'm thinking about community engagement, I'm also thinking about how can I bring this community together to let them know, okay, this is how this works. So simple when it comes to voting. So, okay, if you vote said person in, this person is supposed to do X, Y, and Z for you and to be able to bring X, Y, and Z resources to you and be able to help revitalize said community to bring better opportunities to you guys. So being able to inform the community of those things so they can make conscious decisions, even down to who represents them. It's so much when it comes into community engagement, but the biggest core of it all is how can I help my neighbor succeed and have the resources that they need in order to obtain greatness in their lives.
I love that, Kelli. I wanna ask you something. For someone who wants to be someone who's in the community but wants to engage more, but doesn't know how to. And like you said, we need to get into that field of helping our neighbors. For someone who is starting off fresh, or like they want to do something but don't know what to do, what is a simple step that they can do to be active in their community?
Show up. Now, granted, I get this question all the time. How can I be involved? How can I start? I tell people, start with the people around you. Really look at the needs of your parents, your siblings, your nieces, your nephews, your next door neighbors. Really start asking them questions on saying like, hey, how is life going on? And I guarantee you they will start telling you, necessarily not complaining, but they will tell you the issues that they're going through. Start with really learning what's going around in the circle that you can physically touch. And that goes also back to an understanding what your neighbor needs and also being able to help your neighbors. Number two, I try to explain this to people when it comes to especially like politics specifically. We are the employers and they are our employees. So us as citizens living in our said community, so you live in Florence, you're a taxpayer. So you as a taxpayer, you are indebted and you're owed to know exactly what's going on across the county of Florence, period. So with that being said, we have access to Google. You can simply just go to Florence City Hall. Their website will pop up. From there, it should show you when they're meeting, when the city council is meeting, when the chamber of commerce meeting, when anything and everything that's going on in your city. Find one or two things to just go in and show up and be involved in. These are open, free events, meetings that you can go to that's open to the public. Show up. Now, I tell a lot of people, I had no clue when I went to my first city council meeting in Mullins when I was living in Mullins, what to even expect. So what I did, I just literally just showed up to the meeting. I sat in the back and I just listened and just really just listening to what they were saying, going through what the budget they was talking about, what the new initiatives that was trying to bring through the city of Mullins, what was the issues that they was hearing. Also just learning and seeing how they interact as city council members and as well as our mayor. And then after that, I took it upon myself to go to my city council person. I went to him and I said, hey, I attended a meeting for the very first time. I heard a lot of things, but can you take it a step further and explain to me what you guys was talking about so I have a better understanding? We have to understand that these people serve us. So going back to saying we are the employers and they are employees, your city council, your mayors, your county council, school board members, they should have an open door policy for you guys to be able to go and ask the questions. So we will start there. Show up to a meeting and just sit there and listen. And then go and ask the questions. Know that no question is the wrong question. Go and ask if you need more clarity on things. And then from there, that's how you get involved. Also, I tell people too, support other people in your community. If you see somebody is having a back to school drive, if you can't donate, go and say, hey, how can I volunteer to help you with the back to school drive? Just start getting involved in this certain community thing. And then from there, you're essentially exposing yourself to what's really happening, but you also are building a network of people that you can, continue being involved with and really engaging with. And then from there, it may spark you with an idea. Oh, this is what I may want to do. And that's what did me. I actually started District 5 Coalition. So I saw the trash. I saw it was a big issue with the trash. That every time I went to a city council meeting, they was always talking about the trash and how people were littering. So I said, well, hey, I done been to like 4 or 5 different meetings. I went to my city council member and I said, hey, I have an idea to maybe can help resolve your problems. Have you thought about asking the community to come together to do trash pickup? And he was like, no, I didn't think about that. And he said, well, if you want to head up the initiative, I will support you. And that's what I went back. This is the power of social media. Went on Facebook and said, hey, this Saturday, meet me at this location. We're going to do a trash pickup. And guess what? I had over 30 people that showed up because guess what? These was people who had the same concern that everybody else had about the trash. And we as a community got in our little bubble, in our little area, and we picked up the trash. Like, that's how you start. You just start small until you can get to those bigger levels.
And it's the fact that you saw needs and was able to create resolutions for them. And that's also a part of doing the work. So I
Yes.
appreciate you doing that. Now, what is one thing that people often misunderstand about politics and or public service?
They think that these people are gods and kings, and let's be honest with you, they feel like these people are not approachable. They feel like we can't call these people out for the shenanigans that they're doing. I know, like right now, spirits are probably really heavy right now. We are living in a time that we are experiencing for the first time, and I can say in our lifetime. Now, I'm not saying for our parents' lifetime, because like my dad, he's 70 years old. He has seen some things that I and me and you would never see. Because
Right.
he actually grew up in Jim Crow. He grew up in segregation where he had no rights. My dad was 9 years old when he actually got rights as a citizen in the United States. So let's process that. But a lot of people feel that these politicians and the elected officials are just gods. And I don't know why they think that, and they're not approachable, and they feel like we can't call them out. Right now, this current administration with Trump, I'm going to call it what it is. It's evil. Like, they literally are trying to they already stripped away women's rights, where they repeal Roe v. Wade in his first term, where essentially women do not have the rights legally to dispute on what things they should do with their bodies. They are literally actively trying to chip away from the Voting Rights Act right now, where they're trying to chip away at the second section of the Voting Rights Act, which is definitive and defined by race. But essentially, they want to take all voting rights away from a group of individuals. Right now, we're still fighting with this big, beautiful, ugly bill is what I call it, even though they call it the big, beautiful bill. Starting in 2027, if your parents or grandparents are on Medicare, over 11 million people in this country will start losing Medicare coverages through this big ugly bill. And this goes back to time with your question is what people really don't know or how they can do. And I tell people we have the right as the American people to call out the injustices and the inhumane things that are happening through our politicians. We have the right to call it out for what it is. It's not right. It is inhumane. It is against our human rights as citizens in this country for stripping us away from the things that we deserve and that we pay into for a system through our taxes to be able to have these said resources and things that we need to be able to have. Also, I tell people all the time, too, what people really don't know is you have the power. It truly lies within us as the people. Going back to what I said before, we are the employers. They are our employees. We pay their salaries, but we also can fire these people, too. People all tell us how, oh my God, we have these career politicians. I say we have these career politicians because y'all don't go out and vote. Because it really takes 5 to 10 minutes. If you don't like Whitney being in this seat, you on election day, you can go and say, I don't like Whitney. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to vote for the person who's running against Whitney to get Whitney out of this seat. It's just that simple. Knowing your power that you have as an American, knowing that the power that you have to fight against the system. But we don't stop being complacent as a people. And I don't even want to speak this into existence, but I see it happening every single day. We will be back in a time on where our parents and our grandparents were once in, where they simply did not have the right for the simple things, the simple luxuries that we take for granted, such as voting, such as home ownership, such as being able to get that good paying job, such as being able to even have access to a credit card. I don't know, a lot of people don't understand. Women did not get the rights to be able to simply have a credit card, get a car in their name, get a house in their name until 1973.
That's not that long ago.
That's not that long ago. My oldest sister was born in 1974, meaning the year that my oldest sister was born was when she had the right as a woman. It was not that long ago. And I need our generation as well as the generation behind us to understand, if we don't stand up, start questioning the system, start fighting against the system, start showing up to actually vote, the generations behind us, they won't have a fighting chance. Because people don't understand, we're living, me and you, we're in our 30s. We're living through the moment. But your baby, he is going to be the one that's going to have the after effect. When he becomes a teenager and a young adult, people don't understand. It takes years to break down a system, and it takes even longer to rebuild a system. Before Ronald Reagan, it wasn't a thing called credit scores. Before Ronald Reagan, we actually had free colleges here in the United States. Before Ronald Reagan, we didn't have what they call more so of a capitalistic system. It was actually more of a socialist system. But when Ronald Reagan came into office, he essentially was like, no, I don't like these said people. Too many of these people of color and all these have access to things. So let me make policy and laws that's going to affect them. In the 1980s, that's where essentially we end up getting credit, where now we have to have credit for everything. So fast forward into today in today's society, what Donald Trump and the Republicans are doing is essentially the same thing that Ronald Reagan did back in the 1980s, but they doing it in a way now is like, well, we can't take away their education, but we can make it where public schools are defunded and they have to have a voucher in order to go to said charter school. If you're a doctor or a lawyer, you only can take out X amount of money when it comes to student loans. It costs $200,000, $300,000 to be things, but we have to do a limit on these things. Well, we can't just take away your health insurance, but we can take away a few million of these subsidies where maybe you can't pay for your medicine, but it still can cover for your actual medical bills. Like, you see what I'm saying there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need
Definitely.
people to understand that. We give them too much power as a people. And I tell people the revolution will not be televised. That is a thing. But I feel that we have to start silently organizing ourselves in how we will combat the system. And I tell people all the time, how you combat it is starting putting ourselves in position. So me personally, I'm about to, I'm studying for my LSATs right now. I'm putting myself in position. I'm about to become an attorney. Black women are less than 2% of attorneys here in this country. Black people in general is less than 6% of attorneys in this country. How I'm putting myself in position to be able to fight said position, let me become an attorney so I can help prosecute and help fight from a legal standpoint the battles that we are going to face if we don't stop the current administration in their tracks in November. Also, making sure that we vote in November, because November midterms, we have all 435 congressional members that are up for re-election, 36 governors across this country, as well as 33 U.S. senators that are up for re-election. We have an opportunity this November to flip the House as well as flip the Senate to be able to not necessarily stop what Trump and his administration is trying to do, but it'll slow it down a little bit better. Because right now, the Republicans have control of the White House, they have control of the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House, and they somewhat have control of the U.S. Supreme Court as well. So how we stop some of these things is in November, we show up and show out in big numbers and vote for the Democrats so they can have the majority again to at least slow down some of these things that is essentially going to come into effect.
With that, Kelly, also congratulations to you on becoming an attorney. I know you're gonna exceed and excel. Do you feel that, I want to say, in a perfect world where Republicans and Democrats and liberals, where we can all be together? Toby Newigway said this thing one time. He said, it's not about being right or wrong, it's about being on one accord. Do you think that one day all parties will be on one accord?
It's twofold, yes and no. I want to say yes because I'm seeing it now with Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They make me so proud every single day. They don't, when I truly say they despise division, they despise how things are going right now, even when it comes to world issues, when pro-Palestine and, with the wars that's happening over in Iran. I am very optimistic that the generations behind us are going to be the solution. Because a lot of them are leaving the Republican and the Democratic Party, and they're becoming more of a third party, which are more your liberals, and they are focusing on certain issues to help combat. They are not afraid to go in the streets and protest, like, at all. They are the ones, when you see these millions of people protesting across the country, it's typically your Gen Z and your Gen Alphas that's in the streets that's fighting for our rights. So I'm very optimistic that one day the next generation behind us will be a resolution. But when I say No, is because we have to, in this moment, believe that the next generation can lead us. Right now, it's so hard for young people to rise to the occasion and running for office right now because a lot of people say they're too young, they're too inexperienced, they don't have the livelihood and the history of living in life to be able to make these important decisions. We have so many young people that's running across this country for congressional members. Like, we actually have the opportunity here in the state of South Carolina to send two 25-year-olds to Congress from South Carolina, and also the opportunity to elect the very first Black woman congressman outside of Jim Clyburn. He's the only Black congressional member we have ever had in this state since the 90s. The first Black woman to Congress, and she's 25 years old. We also have the opportunity to elect the very first Black governor that the state of South Carolina has ever had, and Jermaine is 41 years old. So we don't typically take chances on young people to assume to those roles. And that's why I said, no for right now, because it's on both sides where they're not ready to take their hands off the power that they have and truly pass it to the next generation. Also, people are starting to be conditioned as well, too. A lot of people aren't raised in households where they're taught to think progressive, or where they're taught to think of their fellow man. They're taught to think about that all people are God's children. A lot of people are not raised in those households. So I tell people that it's a cycle, it's a generational cycle of learning that we're going to have to combat, especially when it comes to certain communities. Hate is taught. I tell people, hate is a learned factor. So it is still a pocket of individuals that is continuing to instill certain rhetoric and information when it comes to a certain group of people. So we have to understand that may not go away so fast. But at the end of the day, I am very optimistic that before I close my eyes on this beautiful earth, that I will see us unifying more and really truly talking about the issues that's going to help us as a people move forward as a nation to be able to help the next generation succeed.
Absolutely. And for someone who's listening today and maybe considering stepping into leadership, public service, advocacy, or even politics, but they're scared, they're uncertain, or questioning whether they're qualified or not, what words of encouragement would you give them?
You are qualified. You are qualified for every single thing that you think of that you can do. God said he has a purpose and a plan for our lives. And he said, if you don't get weary, I have a purpose and a plan for you at the end of the day. We are amazing human beings. We are multifaceted. We have our unique way of thinking. We have our unique way of doing things. But I tell people, don't let your story or your past define of who you are, because at the end of the day, you may be going through a moment where you may think that you're not capable. But at the end of the day, you are capable. You have to believe in yourself. But also believing yourself means to being able to pour into yourself as well. Like being able to learn, open up a book and read it. Instill the knowledge and pour into yourself. Get the personal coaching, get the therapy, get all the things that you need to be able to make the best version of you as a person. And then also, lastly, making sure that while you're stepping into your purpose, that you have a community behind you that's pushing you into your purpose as well. But yes, you can do it. I tell people, again, you heard my story. I went from literally losing a family member to severely depressed to literally trying to commit suicide 3 times and almost was successful, to literally saying, hey, this is not going to define me as a person. Let me get myself back on track. And I fought my way through it. And look at me now. I'm literally working across this country and across this nation, impacting so many lives. And I tell people, I'm 35 years old. I got a whole life ahead of me. I pray to God every single day that when I turn 100, I can look back before I close my eyes and say, job well done, because you did what you were supposed to do, because you didn't give up on yourself, and you believed that you could, and you understood that you belong.
Amen to that testimony, Kelli. And thank you so much for sharing your journey your wisdom, and your heart with us today. I appreciate you as my client who turned into a friend. I appreciate your commitment to leadership. I appreciate your commitment to community and service. And I am excited to see for what's next for you and the more lives that you will impact. Thank you. And you guys, I'll make sure to put Kelli's information in the show notes so that you can connect with her to see what she has going on. Because let me tell you something, Kelli be on one on TikTok, okay? Kelli has a TikTok streak going, okay? And thank you just so much for educating. And before we go, is there anything else you want to say, Kelli?
Say, make sure that if you guys are not registered to vote, the deadline to register to vote here in the state of South Carolina is October the 4th. You can register online at www.scvotes.gov. Make sure you have a voting plan. We have some amazing candidates on both sides of the aisles. Do your research. And on November the 3rd, make sure your voices are heard if you want to see a change happening here in the state of South Carolina, and go out and cast your vote. Other than that, thank you for having me, Whitney. I love you to life as always.
You're absolutely welcome. I love you back. Remember, you guys, register to vote. Your vote does matter. And also, you guys know that the Grace Gathering 2.0 is happening August 22nd, 2026. Thank you to everyone who shared, who reposted. Thank you to our sponsors. If you haven't been to the event and you want to come, this is your time for connection, community, and conversation. We also have an honoree that we will be honoring this year and so much more. So I really hope to see you all in the room. And you know how we close it out. Here is where style meets substance and grace meets real life experiences. I love y'all.